Flight 319, Lost in Time. Chapter 1, Departure into the Unknown. On September 25, 1998, Flight 319, a Boeing 737 operated by Sunlight Airways, took off from New York's JFK Airport, bound for Los Angeles. The flight was scheduled to last 5 hours, carrying 212 passengers and 8 crew members. The departure was routine, the sky was clear, and passengers settled in for a smooth journey. Captain Walter Green and First Officer David Howard were experienced pilots. Air traffic control recorded their routine check-ins as the flight progressed westward. Then at 6:37 p.m., something changed. Radar operators at Los Angeles International Airport, LAX, noted a strange flicker on their screens. Flight 319's transponder briefly disappeared, then reappeared. A minute later, it vanished again, this time for good. A final transmission crackled through the static. "Where are we? My God, what is this place? We can't see. Then silence. Flight 319 was gone. Chapter 2. A Search Without Answers. Within minutes, emergency response teams were mobilized. Military and civilian aircraft began an intensive search operation over the Nevada desert, where the flight had last been tracked. But there were no signs of wreckage, no distress signals, no reports of an explosion. It was as if Flight 319 had simply ceased to exist. Days turned into weeks. Investigators combed every possible crash site, theorizing mechanical failure, a hijacking, or even an act of terrorism. But with no debris, no black box signals, and no remains, the case became one of aviation's greatest unsolved mysteries. By December 1998, Flight 319 was declared lost with no survivors. Families mourned. Conspiracy theories spread. Some whispered about the Bermuda Triangle of the skies, an area in the Nevada desert where planes and people allegedly disappeared without explanation. Then, 25 years later, the impossible happened. Chapter 3. The Impossible Return. On May 8, 2023, Air Traffic Controller John Mason was overseeing landings at Los Angeles International Airport when a strange signal appeared on his radar. A Boeing 737 was approaching the runway. The aircraft's transponder transmitted an impossible call sign, Sunlight Airways 319. Mason frowned. Flight 319 did not exist. It hadn't existed for over 2 decades. "Unidentified aircraft, state your call sign." A shaky voice replied, "LAX, this is Flight 319, requesting landing clearance." "What's going on? We lost contact a few hours ago." Mason's blood ran cold. The voice belonged to a man who should have been dead for 25 years. Flight 319 was back. Chapter 4. The Plane That Time Forgot. At 8:14 p.m., Flight 319 touched down at LAX. Emergency crews, police, and federal agents surrounded the aircraft, expecting wreckage, damage, or signs of distress. Instead, the plane was pristine, no signs of wear, no aging. As the doors opened, passengers stepped out, completely unharmed, unchanged, and utterly confused. "What's happening? Why are you looking at us like that? Where's my wife? She was supposed to meet me here." To the passengers, only 5 hours had passed. They had no idea that 25 years had slipped by. Inside the cockpit, Captain Green frantically checked his watch. It read 7:14 p.m., September 25, 1998, the exact time they had vanished. The world around them, however, had moved on without them. Chapter 5. The Investigation begins. Authorities immediately quarantined the plane and passengers. Families of the missing were notified. Some had remarried, some had moved on, some had died. Government officials began a classified investigation, but nothing made sense. The plane's black boxes were blank. The passengers hadn't aged a single day. Every wristwatch, every electronic device on board was still synced to 1998. Scientists discovered something disturbing. The molecular structure of the plane's metal had shifted slightly, as if it had been exposed to an unknown energy source. Meanwhile, the passengers began experiencing the same nightmares, a dark mist outside their windows, a whispering voice calling their names, a feeling that they were not alone. Before vanishing into a classified facility, Captain Green left a final journal entry. "We went somewhere we weren't supposed to be, and I fear we weren't alone." Chapter 6. The Open Ending. The official report concluded that Flight 319 had suffered an unexplained navigational anomaly. The details were sealed from public record. The surviving passengers attempted to reintegrate into society, but many struggled with visions, paranoia, and a haunting sense of déjà vu. Then, one by one, they started disappearing. Captain Green vanished from his home in 2025. First Officer Howard disappeared in 2026. By 2029, nearly half the passengers were missing, with no signs of forced entry, no clues, just gone. Every year, on May 8th, LAX radar picks up a brief phantom signal, a transponder cod